Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Friday Show brought to you by Monmouth Park. 5 p.m. post times Friday for the Twilight card, 12:15 Saturday and Sunday. Be sure to play the win early pick five, the earliest pick five in the country. I'm Ray Paulick, joined today by Mark Toothaker from Spendthrift Farm, the stallion sales manager from Spendthrift Farm, the founder of the farm, of the current era of Spendthrift Farm, at least. B. Wayne Hughes passed away earlier this week. Mark, I'm sure it's a sad week at Spendthrift Farm, but I'm sure there's a lot of good memories that are being shared too.
Oh, Ray, it really is. I mean, yesterday afternoon, I just left the office, was actually out feeding some of my weanlings, and got the call that he had passed, and I was, so thankful that he came into my life. Just an amazing man. I was so fortunate to have been able to spend 10 years, working for a guy that, self-made billionaire that just had a relentless work ethic, and just learned so much from him, and just so many memories come flooding out, when I got the word.
We know about the way he's revived Spendthrift Farm. We know the way he's changed the stallion business with the Share the Upside program. He's had the success of Into Mischief now. Some of the great racehorses he's campaigned, most notably Beholder, who had just a remarkable career. But I'd like to just ask you a little bit more about B. Wayne Hughes, the man. You said you've learned some things from him. What are some of the things you've learned about life or about management from B. Wayne Hughes?
Well, there's so many stories with Wayne, over the years that, he just had so much knowledge. You just try to pick his brain and be able to try to learn all you can. But the biggest thing was just watching him. And, really, Ray, up until the last month, he worked. And, he was very involved in my racehorse and what was going on with my racehorse and how the micro shares were selling and what was out there that Spendthrift could team up with them and be able to purchase. And so he was extremely involved with my racehorse, really right up until the very end, because he saw that as an opportunity to bring so many new people into the game, and that was his vision, is to be able to revive a lot of the attendance at the tracks and just get people to the track. And so his work ethic was amazing. I told him about 2 months ago, I was like, Wayne, what in the world? I mean, why do you want to keep doing what you're doing? And he just said, he goes, Mark, I've got so much that I want to accomplish, but I've got so little time left. And he said, so I don't have time to do anything but work. And that was his attitude. I mean, he even when 2 years ago, when he was still really getting around well, you'd say, hey, you love to go to Harbor Island, and, why don't you go to Harbor Island or Cabo or go, so many of those places that you love to go. And it was just the same thing, as I don't have time. I've got limited time left, and I've got so much I need to do. So, that said so much about him, is just absolute dogged determination to just keep, moving forward.
How would you describe his management style? Was he collaborative? Was it team efforts? Did he just come up with
Well,
these ideas and bring them to you guys? Or?
well, yeah, I mean, Wayne was very unique. Wayne and the people that worked for him at Public Storage for all those years, Wayne is he's the alpha dog. He's the man's man, and Wayne can come in there and he could pound the table, but what I learned early on is, as long as you presented the facts and you made an argument of why what he was wanting to do, you didn't feel like was going to work, he appreciated that. And, he and I had some famously very heated discussions, and a lot of the guys and gals in the office would laugh about it. But Wayne liked to spar, and he kind of liked for you to go at it with him. But a lot of his ideas were his. I mean, especially like Breed Secure. That was really his idea. And the Share the Upside, that was a little bit of a collaboration of how do we get people to breed to these second year horses, because Into Mischief and Notional were both second year horses when that was implemented. Now, of course, since then we do it on our first year horses coming off the track. But we've got a great team, but there was no doubt about it. Wayne was the one that led it, and a lot of the ideas were his. And even when you thought that you had him off of one of his ideas, I used to laugh and we'd say, he's like a hamster, in one of those mazes. You think that you've got him stopped, but he just tries to keep figuring out a way to come back at you. So even if it be you put something to bed at a meeting on Monday, and everybody's decided, okay, this is what we're going to do. If it wasn't his idea, it was going to get revisited again on Tuesday, because he wanted to one more time, let you know that this was what he wanted to do. And I so appreciate, his leadership. And he was tough. I mean, the one thing that you learned being around Wayne is if you didn't produce, you weren't there very long. And I've seen people come and go in his real estate business locally, that, they were here one day and the next day they weren't. And with Wayne, there was no middle ground. You knew what you had to do. You have to produce. And if you produce, you didn't have anything to worry about. But he would come in the office, all the time and say, all right, vacation's over. Why don't you get off your butts and do something? And so, that was just him. When he came in the office, he wanted you working because he was working, and he led by example.
Yeah, one word I hear associated with him a lot, you talked about if you don't produce, you're gone, is loyalty. I know that early in his racehorse ownership, back at Santa Anita, he had a trainer whose name I won't mention, I think he's passed away now, but he didn't produce, and Mr. Hughes kept him around for the longest time, and finally, and probably learned a lot of lessons through that experience. But boy, did things turn around when he started, changing trainers, going to some different guys.
Well, he is loyal to the core, and he's very slow to change trainers. He likes to give them every chance that he possibly can. And if you look at Richard Mandela, and he's been right there, for such a long time. And now that we've spread out across a lot of other trainers and stuff, he's very loyal to those guys on staying with them and giving them every opportunity that they possibly can. Wayne would tell the stories that, he was so busy with public storage that he didn't really, follow it as close as he needed to. And he would let these guys, go to the sales and call him. And, there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was, deals being made behind the scenes. And, he finally, called out a couple of trainers, that, and they said, yeah, no, I was, getting paid a commission. And, he learned, kind of the tough way, on that, but he learned over the years to be with guys he could really trust, and he knew we're going to do him right. And that's where he stayed with those guys all the way till the end.
And I know that when the times were good, the celebrations were huge. If I remember correctly, I think I saw a picture of you and the team from Spendthrift after the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita.
Yes.
You went to a
a
5-star restaurant. Am I right?
We did for sure. And what was funny about that is that Beholder in her race before had gotten beat, and Tammy and Eric were all there. We were not out there, but Eric and Tammy were, and all of Patty and a lot of Wayne's friends. And so they had reservations at a really nice restaurant in downtown Los Angeles. And when she got beat, they were all in tears. Tammy was crying, Patty was crying. And so when the Breeders' Cup rolled around, and you're running against Songbird and that tough field, they just decided, we're not going to make any reservations. We're going to just see what happens, because nobody wants to feel as bad and go eat like we did after we got beat last time. And so it was funny. We got in the van, and Wayne said, well, what are we going to do? And said, hey, why don't we go to In-N-Out, because we love that place. And he said, that's perfect. Well, I took a photo of him walking into In and Out with him and Patty hand in hand walking in, and I tweeted it. And he got on my butt. He said, "Mark, you made me look like a cheap bastard." He said, taking you all to In and Out after that. And I said, "Wayne, not at all. It's a classic. I mean, you win the Breeders' Cup Distaff and we go to In and Out. I mean, it's hilarious, but it's great. We ate a great burger, fries, had a shake, and it was a night, we'll never forget."
I think that says a lot more about B. Wayne Hughes than a lot of other stories I've heard, that after celebrating maybe the biggest win of his career, to that point at least, he goes out to the In-N-Out Burger, which I think is 5-star myself. So,
well, us too, and he fed us well. I mean, we ate so many great meals at so many unbelievable restaurants that a guy from Arkansas doesn't get a chance to go to many of those places. So, as I've said to everybody, my life changed the day that I met him, and he was very good to me when I was selling horses. We teamed up early, even before I was there full time. We had a deal worked out. I would send mares, to his stallions, and in return, he would give me horses to sell. And he told me, he said, "As long as you do that, you're going to continue to get horses. But if you quit sending me mares, I'm going to quit sending you horses." Does that understood? And we shook hands, and I said, clear as day. And till the whole time that I sold horses, he was by far my biggest client, my biggest supporter, my biggest believer. And then, after everything kind of went south with Legacy in 2008 and the horse business got whacked, he approached me about coming over there full time. And, he made an offer that I laugh and say my wife couldn't refuse, because she was like, "You're going to get a weekly check. Yes. You're going to have health insurance. Yes. You're going to have a retirement plan. Yes." So we were very, very fortunate that he approached us and made the offer to come over there full time. And it changed my life. Absolutely. I owe a lot to Wayne and Patty Hughes.
Well, the whole industry owes a lot to B. Wayne Hughes. He's done so much for it, and as you said, he was working on ideas right up to the very end, supporting the microshare concept for my racehorse. And gosh, I mean, how many people can say they invented an industry? He basically invented the public storage industry with that company, and he's reinventing some of the things in racing with the microshares and the stallion business. So.
No, he is Wayne. I mean, he is Ray. I mean, Wayne came in the office one day when I first started working for him. And so this would have been 11. And this will just tell you how gung-ho he is. And he came in, he sat at my desk, and he said, "I got a new project." And I said, "Really? What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I bought 5 houses in Phoenix." And I said, "Really? What are you going to do with them?" He said, "Well, I'm going to rent them." And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, no." He goes, "These banks have got these houses they're foreclosing on." And he said, "So I'm going to buy some." Literally a month later, I'm just trying to start conversation. And I said, "Wayne, how's your house deal going?" "Oh, I've got 500 of them." I'm like, "What?" I said, "You just had 5." And so, long story short, Seth Simpkin, who was our racing manager and yearling manager, Wayne literally had Seth go around the country for 2 years and buy houses. And Seth said, "I don't know the first thing about a house." And Wayne said, "You don't need to. All you're going to do is go to these auctions. You're going to buy them all." And that's what he did. And so, Wayne went from 5 houses to 57,000 houses currently with American Homes.
Jesus.
And,
It's amazing.
he's just a guy that is relentless, and just, when he gets involved in something, it's just amazing. And, we're such the benefactors in the horse business of his love for the horses and caring about the horses, and always wanting to make sure, that they were well taken care of, and our stallions were, that we were out there building the best stallion roster we could. And, he wanted us to, be the best. I mean, and Eric and Tammy stopped by the office this morning, and, they were heartbroken, and it was hard for them to speak to us, but, they just said, "Wayne created a legacy here, and let's make sure that we take his vision and just keep fulfilling it. And let's keep doing what we're doing. Let's keep adding the best stallions we can. Let's keep being great on customer service. and just do what his vision was for Spendthrift, to be the biggest and best farm in Lexington.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for sharing, taking the time to share some stories about your relationship with Mr. Hughes. And we do really appreciate it. And the good news, as you said, is that it's set up to, the legacy is set up. Spendthrift will continue, keep going out and getting those top stallion prospects. And we look forward to many more years of Spendthrift Farm. Thank you so much.
Ray, we appreciate all you do for us at Spendthrift. And thank you so much for your partnership with us, and wish you guys all the best.
All right. We'll be right back.
It's two Emmys as Busy Channel for Jareth Ludberry looms for the home team. It's two Emmys at the turn in from Busy Channel. Domestic Spending Zulu Alpha. Then counting up the inside. Armory Space Traveler. Strong Tide tailed off. There's 1 furlong to go. And Long Odds, two Emmys is still there. Domestic Spending is charging hard. They count past the 16th. Two Emmys clings on. Domestic Spending on the outside, giving us a finish to remember. Two Emmys. Two Emmys pulls it off at 27-1. Held Domestic Spending and the Mr. D Stakes.
Well, that was possibly the last Grade 1 race run at Arlington or in Illinois for a long time, maybe ever. I'm here with joined by Chris Block, a trainer of more than 30 years in Illinois. His family has been breeding, owning, and racing thoroughbreds at Arlington and Illinois tracks for a half century or more. We have a very uncertain future for 2022. And Chris, let me just ask you first off, how are you feeling about next year?
I'm not feeling well at all. That I believe I'm quite certain it's becoming more and more apparent that there will be no racing at Arlington in 2022. I believe it might be beyond that as well. So it appears that thoroughbred racing in Chicago, in the northern part of the state, will be strictly at Hawthorne Park. And with that being the case, we're going to have to share Hawthorne with the harness industry, as there's only one track for the harness as well, and that's Hawthorne. So it's going to be a very challenging year, 2022, for the thoroughbred industry, to say the least.
And not only sharing the facility as far as racing dates are concerned, but also once slots revenue or casino revenue comes online, you'll have to be sharing that with the standardbred horsemen too. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. The goal here would be, as it was intended in the gaming bill that passed in 2019, not only have we now seen no casino come to Arlington Park and the potential shutdown here at the end of the meet, but also the harness industry was to have their own track located in a south suburb of Tinley Park. And there's been a lot of things that have gone wrong there in trying to secure the property. The buyer that was originally going to buy it and put the racino there had run into some issues, and the state legislature and the governor of Illinois stopped that process, and it's never gotten back on ground and headed in that direction. So to where we are today, we need the harness, and they'd like to find their own track. And that way we would have Hawthorne for ourselves, where we wouldn't have to share the revenues from the racino, and we could have potentially 9-10 months of straight racing there. Right. So that would be our goal, hopefully, into the future. But right now, that's not happening anytime soon.
So realistically, what kind of racing schedule would you be looking at in 2022?
Well, right now, it looks like probably somewhere between 70 and 80 days of racing total for the thoroughbreds. This year, we're racing 118 total, so it's going to be a drastic reduction. Right. And we don't know what the schedule is going to look like. We're currently in discussions with the harness horsemen. Fortunately, the harness horsemen and the thoroughbred horsemen get along well. We passed the gaming bill together, so we've kept that nucleus together, and we're working on that. There's a lot of challenges that both sides face in trying to come up with a schedule, or hope to, by September 15th, somewhere in that neighborhood, come up with a schedule that neither side's going to really like, but maybe we could live with for 1 year. My concern is that this might be a schedule we're looking at for a couple of years to come if there's no solution to find a place for the harness to go.
Yeah. Well, we know that Churchill has put the property up for sale. There's discussions apparently with the Chicago Bears to build a stadium there. But there's some interest within the thoroughbred industry too to keep it going as a racetrack. Do you think that's realistic that the group headed by Roy Arnold or anybody else would be a winning bidder for the property?
I do. I know that that Roy and his group have put together a bid that really is quite interesting when you look at the guts of it. It's going to make the land multi-use. So we're going to keep the racetrack. It would keep the racetrack. It would eliminate the barn area and move it closer up to the main part of the property where the track is. And then there would be residential and industrial aspects of it, an entertainment area with a potential minor league hockey team coming there with an arena. It's a great plan. It would really be something special for horse racing in Illinois to have something like that. And I believe they have full intentions of upgrading the facility from the grandstand and then, of course, put in a brand new backstretch. I talked to Roy this morning, as a matter of fact. He's been told he's one of 3 finalists, and he hasn't heard anything lately. The last time he heard something was approximately 3 weeks ago. So, he's getting a little concerned about that, but he's not been told that he's out of the process. So he's assuming that he's still alive.
Hasn't Churchill Downs talked about taking the license that they currently have and building a facility somewhere else or repurposing Quad City Downs or whatever the harness track is called and using that license there?
There was talk, and I believe that they have made statements to the fact that they would pursue a different location for the license. But I believe that there would be some legislative challenges involved with that to move the license. I don't think that's something that I don't think the license at Arlington is theirs to move. I don't think they can just up and move it to a different location. I think they'd have to go through quite a bit of legislative process to get that done. So I don't see that as a real viable option because it's only been mentioned in jest a couple of times, I believe, by Mr. Karstantian and Mr. Petrillo. And I have not heard anything real solid that leads me to believe that that's something they're looking at.
And hypothetically speaking, if Roy Arnold is successful in purchasing the property, keeping racing going in Arlington, is there a chance that he could get a casino license, that the same casino license, I guess, that Churchill Downs turned down?
It's my understanding, yes. There would be, again, like a legislative process that would have to take place because Churchill did not pursue the license. That there was a deadline of, I believe it was August 28th of 2019, and they did not go forward with that process. So Roy's group would then have to start the process all over again. They'd have to lobby Springfield to get the votes behind it, and it would probably catch quite a bit of resistance from existing casinos, as we did before trying to pass it for many years. So it would be a mountain to climb, but I think there's quite a bit of there would be quite a bit of support from Springfield, knowing what Churchill has done here. We lobbied for so many years. Churchill was right there with the Arlington representatives, lobbying hard to pass it. And I believe they created quite a few enemies by walking away from it once it did pass. So there might be some sympathy down there for the industry, number one. And number two, the thought process of putting a racino at Arlington was a big boom for the state of Illinois from the tax purposes. So and I think it's a big loss for the state of Illinois not having a racino at Arlington. So Roy and his group may be maybe in a good position to take a real good shot of getting that if in fact they were able to.
It seems like there's been uncertainty in Illinois racing for more than 20 years. When Dick Duchessois was the sole owner, he closed the track down for a couple of years because he was unhappy with the inaction from the state legislators. Churchill Downs bought it in 2000. Where are we in terms of a breeding industry in Illinois today versus where we were 20 years ago?
We're on life support. I'm really concerned that this industry will not survive another 2 years of where we're headed right now. In 2021, the full count was 156. And in 10 years ago, I believe it was around somewhere around 1250. So wow. It's a major drop off. My family being so involved in the breeding, I know a lot of the breeders in Illinois, and the ones that are still breeding are now very concerned that the loss of Arlington will actually further that decline to the point where it may not exist in a couple of years. Yeah. So I don't see how without Arlington or a solid schedule at Hawthorne where the thoroughbreds are solely there. And by the way, if that happens, where we are the sole breed there, those purses will be very, very, very good. There'll be total host time going to Hawthorne instead of split with Arlington. If a Racino is up and running at Hawthorne, which I know the Carey family intends to eventually get that accomplished, we'll have the proceeds from that as well as the end of recapture. So the purse structure will be very solid, and it'll be good racing there where maybe that could help bring some fuel back to the Illinois breeding program. But the one thing I will say this is that a lot of breeders were in this industry for one reason, and that was the reason of Arlington Park.
Right.
So when you lose Arlington, I think another faction of the breeding program will fail.
Yeah, I think, this is not a knock on Hawthorne. Just like in New York, you have upstate Saratoga, you have a beautiful track there, but then you have Aqueduct in the wintertime. Illinois, you've had the beautiful Arlington Park, both before and after the fire. And you also have Hawthorne, which is more of an urban track. And it's not a place that develops new fans the way a place like Arlington can.
Unfortunately, that is correct. I mean, Hawthorne is in an industrial area. It's down in the south side. Well, not the south side of the city, but somewhat south. And yeah. Arlington is it's just one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world. And I love to call it home. There's so many emotions that I have and other horsemen have around this, but you're correct. Hawthorne is Hawthorne, and even their plans for a Racino, I've seen they're going to absolutely redo the whole grandstand and make it very, very nice for us as horsemen there as well, and the fans that are in horse racing. But again, it's not Arlington, and the industry, just always survived so well up until recent years here because of Arlington. And so losing it and not having it is going to be devastating.
Well, Chris, I appreciate your time. I wish you and your family all the best going forward. We hope Team Block is a stable that we see racing in Illinois for many years and decades to come. It's certainly a tough time right now for Illinois racing.
It certainly is, and it's our intentions to stay in. We're embedded here in the state. We have I think we actually foaled 12 mares this year. So my dad, my mom, my brother, my sister, myself, we've been in this for a long time. We intend to stay, and we're hoping that maybe a miracle happens at Arlington. If not, then we'll throw our support behind Hawthorne, and we'll make the best of it we can. And I think, like I said, I think Hawthorne at some point will be a nice spot to be for Illinois breds and an Illinois program. So that's what we're hoping for, and I appreciate it, Ray.
Well, we've seen miracles before at Arlington, and it would be great to see another one.
Yes, it
in the
would.
next 6 months or so. Chris Block, thank you so much, and good luck to you. And we'll be right back after taking a look at this week's Woodbine Star of the Week.
Town Cruise well ahead. Olympic Runner giving chase. Gray's Fable, Avies Flatter, Jolie Olympica march to the Arches, fairway back but running. Town Cruise only 2 in front. Olympic Runner and out wider Avies Flatter, march to the Arches behind, running on, and they come after Town Cruise. Olympic Runner and Avies Flatter, they've run up to hit the front with March to the Arch in 4th, but it's Olympic Runner in front, and Olympic Runner's day. Olympic Runner finally gets a big one. The King Eddie, Olympic Runner first, Town Cruise in a photo for second. March to the Arch came on late from Avies Flatter, and then Gray's Fable. It's bred by Toothaker Farm Limited in Kentucky. The winning jockey is Rafael Hernandez.
Well, as track announcer Robert Geller said, Olympic Runner finally gets the big one. That was the Gio Ponte Gelding's first graded stakes win in 23 starts. Came off a narrow loss to Avies Flatter, who he beat right there in the Connaught Cup last time out. This is a second stakes win, but he's probably been a little frustrating for trainer Mark Cassie over the years. He's been close, but no cigar in graded stakes. Cassie said he's going to bring him back to try for the second time in the Woodbine Mile. Olympic Runner finished 4th in this race last year, and Cassie hopes he can add to his $420,000 in career earnings with a win in that big race. That's on September 18. This weekend, of course, at Woodbine is the Queen's Plate and all the big races surrounding that. You'll want to tune into those races, and you'll want to tune into Monmouth Park as well. Friday night's Twilight card and the 2 Saturday and Sunday cards that get underway much earlier in the day at 12:15 with the Win Early Pick 5. I want to thank Mark Toothaker from Spendthrift Farm for joining us this week. Also, Chris Block from Illinois to talk a little bit about the Arlington Park situation and the future of Illinois racing. That's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.